baseball here. Baseball and football in St. Louis. And we know St. Louis is clearly a baseball town. I also get the sense too, and like I said, this is from experience of having gone to St. Louis, having seen the Cardinals. I've never seen the Rams play, but I've seen the Cardinals. Like I said, every day it's like a playoff game. Every day it's like a holiday whenever the Cardinals are at home because there's nothing but a sea of red. People stand for the Anheuser-Busch song. They clap. They take it seriously. It's actually called "Here Comes the King." Do 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 do. Okay, enough said about that. But they played on the Busch Stadium, Oregon, and they take that seriously. Uh, but I think too, Sean, and we know a lot about the history of baseball. Certainly, you and I can do 6
Oh
hours.
yeah, we could have a discussion all day about it.
Sean, but here's the thing: I got to eat lunch after the show. I'm hungry. Well, not now, but I will be hungry after the show. But here's the thing: I think people in St. Louis tend to celebrate more of the baseball legends. They celebrate thinking about the modern era. I don't know. Or I don't. Maybe they'll celebrate Albert Pujols one of these years. Who knows? But they'll celebrate guys such as Ozzie Smith, guys such as Lou Brock, guys such as Stan the Man Musial, Bob Gibson. Those are guys that they tend to celebrate. They tend to have more pride, I believe, in their 11 World Series championships, 2 of which coming since the Rams won the Super Bowl in 1999 and since they made it in 2001. I think they tend to celebrate more of their history with the Hall of Famers, with the World Series championships, than they would, let's say, Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk, the greatest show on turf.
Right, indeed. And you know what? When Kurt Warner came into the NFL,
great story.
It was a great story. He took over for an injured Trent Green. And when he took over for an injured Trent Green, there was no question about it that there were a lot of people that were like really, really surprised that this guy came. They had no idea. They had no there was just no way that this guy was going to be big. And that, remember at that time, the 49ers were the dominant team in parts of the 90s, and everybody thought, San Francisco will win the division. Kurt Warner was a big, big story for that team. He was remarkable. They had Marshall Faulk. They had Isaac Bruce. They had a lot of pieces to their team. There were a lot of good pieces to that team.
By the way, Frank Sprankle, Sean Mann, you're cruising with us on the Sports Drive here on Jock Journal Radio. You want to get on the fun, talk about anything we've talked about, talk about tonight's Thursday night game, if you really want to, between the Rams and the Buccaneers, or talk about what do you think is going to be as far as the Rams in St. Louis? Are they going to be in St. Louis in the near future? Are they going to be in Los Angeles? Hey, it's either Los Angeles or St. Louis. 405-562-5463. That is the number to call. You can also text us at 77948. And, well, you know what? One thing we can honestly say here, too, Sean, about St. Louis, and we talk about the great baseball history. You're mentioning the name Kurt Warner.
Right.
You can't, if they move, if this team moves to Los Angeles, I don't know how you can consider Kurt Warner to be, it's like Johnny Unitas. You know what? Johnny Unitas didn't want his name on the record books in Baltimore. I don't blame him. He never played in Indianapolis. He doesn't know what it's like, the culture's like. Kurt Warner, he only knows St. Louis. You can't really put Kurt Warner in any of the Rams record books if they go back to Los Angeles. And I think we talk about the baseball history. I think that's the one thing that at least, well, St. Louis sports fans can hang their heads high and be proud of, that they have this greatest show on turf, and they had Kurt Warner here the entire time during the 1999 season. Because one thing about St. Louis, great baseball legends, but they can at least claim one football legend of their own. A guy that's a Hall of Famer in my book, Kurt Warner.
Indeed, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce.
They can claim them.
Remember, don't forget a great coach who really, really did a good job.
Thank you.
The great Dick Vermeil, who did a great job with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he was the one that took the 80 Eagles to the Super Bowl, and of course we all know how that ended when they took on the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, well, how can we forget about Dick Vermeil? Thank you so much, because Dick Vermeil, understand this. There's another guy that's always going to be synonymous with St. Louis. He'll be synonymous with Philadelphia as well. Not with Kansas City. Yeah, Kansas City, it was a good experience. But in St. Louis, he had come to St. Louis in 1997, 2 years after the Rams had relocated. had left 14 years earlier because he was burned out. He was the coaching pressures and stress had gone to him. But if you look at Kurt Warner and what he meant, Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Falk, yeah, you have to mention Dick Vermeil. There's no question. Because he came back to coaching and won a Super Bowl. I mean, here's a guy that was in his 60s and came back and put together the greatest show on turf. And yeah, say what you want about the players, but I have to consider definitely Dick Vermeil to be part of St. Louis's very own when it comes to football. Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah. And another coach that really did a good job with that Rams team, if you remember correctly.
Was it Mike Martz?
Mike Martz. You know, Mike Martz was a guy who really knew the system from Dick Vermeil. When Dick Vermeil stepped down as coach of the Rams, I believe it was after the 2000 season, then came Mike Martz. And people were wondering, could he do the same things as Dick Vermeil? I'd have to say yes, he did, because in 2001, the 01 Rams were a very, very tough to beat.
I don't think so. That was Dick Vermeil's team. Dick Vermeil, listen, Mike Martz may have been the offensive coordinator under Dick Vermeil, but that was clearly Dick Vermeil. Yeah, Mike Martz took him to the Super Bowl, but you know what? Dick Vermeil's team. Mike Martz, not a big impact, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big impact. Not as much as Dick Vermeil.
Yeah, and that's the point. You know, Mike Martz was the guy who had to come in there because Dick Vermeil had a sensational NFL coaching career. Yeah, of course, one of the questions from one of our listeners, does Dick Vermeil legacy die if the Rams move to L.A.? I think it does.
Doesn't. Okay, well, not St. Louis. I think Dick Vermeil, I think Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Falk, they don't have a legacy in Los Angeles. That's the thing. They do not have a legacy there. So, does it die? Does it die? It doesn't even exist there.
Right.
As a matter of fact, here's what I want to see if they move back to Los Angeles. I want to see the Los Angeles Rams statistical book from 1994 be reopened. The St. Louis record book, that should not be that should not be in there. And by the way, we got a text. Hold on, Sean. We got a text. We got to get an update here. I'm going to go to an update after this, but we got a text from 910 area code. Kurt Warner is to Mark Bulger what Dick Vermeil is to Mike Martz. You know what, 910, whoever you are. By the way, thank you for the text. I couldn't agree with you more. Dick Vermeil made the impact. Mike Martz kept the tradition alive. I'll give him that due. Kurt Warner, well, actually, you know what? Kurt Warner had a great in St. Louis. He did. Mark Bulger, okay. So you know what? I'll say this. More so Dick Vermeil than Mike Martz. Kurt Warner, Mark Bulger, I don't think so. Anyway, all right, Sean, we gotta get to commercial. But before we do, we have an update. Here is our update man on the Sports Drive. Sean, man, take it away, buddy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sports Drive. This is the only update of the day. Let's get caught up on what's going on in the latest developments in the sports world. Yesterday, here are the finals that we had from the NBA scoreboard going back to yesterday. The finals, the Pacers over the Mavericks by a score of 107-81. Magic 113, Hornets 98, Heat 104, Nets 98. The Pistons over the Celtics by a score of 119-116. The Knicks 107, Timberwolves 102. The Hawks beating the struggling and arguably the worst team in the NBA, the Philadelphia 76ers, 127-106. The Bulls over the Grizzlies, 98-85. Thunder 106, Trailblazers 90, the Spurs 114, Wizards 95, Pelicans by 10 against the Jazz 104-94. The Warriors get right back to the winning ways. They blow out the Suns by a score of 128-103. And lastly, the Clippers defeating the Bucks 103-90. That recaps the Wednesday games. Now, for Thursday, here's what we got. 3 games for tonight. Raptors will travel to take on the Hornets tonight. The Thunder at the Cavaliers. That's the first game on TNT for the doubleheader tonight. And lastly, the Rockets will take on another team that's not very good, which would be the Los Angeles Lakers. In the National Hockey League, there is a lot of other stuff to get to yesterday. Actually, 2 games from yesterday go final. They go like this. The Capitals beat the Senators by a score of 2-1. And lastly, the Boston Bruins, they shut out the Pittsburgh Penguins by a score of 3-0. Tonight, There will be 11 games scheduled for this National Hockey League. You got the Ducks at the Sabres, Panthers at Devils, Canucks at Flyers, Sharks at Maple Leafs, Kings at Canadiens, Predators at the Blues, Rangers at the Wild, Oilers at the Blackhawks, Flames at the Stars, Islanders at Avalanche, and lastly, it'll be the Blue Jackets taking on the Coyotes. In the NFL, tonight's game will feature the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the St. Louis Rams. The game starts at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 5:25 p.m. Pacific. And that game is on the NFL Network. I'm Sean Mann for the only update for the day for the Sports Drive. Now back on over to the host of the Sports Drive, which is Frank Sprankle and Nash Carey.
Wait a minute, you're part of this too. Shame on you.
Me
Anyway,
too.
yeah, Sean, this is just as much your show as it is mine, buddy. All right, but listen, we got to go to commercial. We're going to continue with the NFL. We're going to talk specifically about a team that's not going to the playoffs, the Cleveland Browns, what Mike Penn had to say about Russell Wilson, what Jim Brown had to say about Johnny Manziel. That's coming up next. Get in the bus with us. We are cruising down the Sports Drive here on Jock Journal Radio.
Time for commercials. If you listen hard enough, you might hear the subliminal messages telling you to buy whatever we're selling.
$1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Also on the web at carsforkids.com. That's Cars with a K. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a free vacation voucher of 3 days and 2 nights.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Are you looking for the web's best sports news? Visit jockjournal.com. Sports media has lost its touch. It seems that journalists are scared to report what they see, in fear of losing access to the teams they cover. At jockjournal.com, you get inside information on the entire NFL community without all the politics or fears other writers have. That's jockjournal.com. When you need the NFL sports news, information, opinions, fantasy football, or discussions, there is only one place to go, and it's jockjournal.com.
You are listening to Jock Journal Radio. News, opinion, and discussion for all you jock stars.
Support for this show comes from Material. Material is a simple and intuitive e-commerce platform that lets you get your online store started without paying a dime. That's right. No ads, no setup costs, no transaction fees. Experience a fresh and easy new way to sell online by signing up at material.com today.
Welcome back to the Sports Drive, where we give you sports radio that doesn't suck.
I think that I've become a little bit
obsessed
with sports.
All right, welcome back as you are cruising with us on the Sports Drive here on jockjournalradio.com. It's a beautiful Thursday. Well, I don't know. It depends on where you live. Outside, like I said earlier, it's cloudy, damp, depressing. Once again, it feels like I live in the old Soviet Union right by some rundown factory. Although, I don't know what it is in North Dakota, what the weather is like there, but I think it's always bright for somebody living in the 701 area code, and that is a North Dakota area code because we got a text here, and I'm probably more shocked than the Todd Frazier trade because it says here, and I don't know who you are. Sean Mann sounds sexy. Sexy. Sean, what do you think?
I'm a little. Whoever it is, I want to say to that fan out there, whoever said that to me. Thank you.
Dakota.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at what you've done, 701. Look at what you've done, 701. Now, because of your That man sounds sexy. Now he's in another world, and now I've lost his train of thought. My goodness, whoever you are, 701, look at what you